staff about. She's managed to do it. Everything that I talk about is about behaviors, the behaviors of the people who are online trying to cause harm, and the behaviors of the children who have got that device in their hand. So as I say, from 1874, we knew that people were printing child abuse images on glass. So as I say, if you do the maths, I think that is 300, and correct me, I'm absolutely useless at maths and I'm very tired. I've been at Ampleforth School all day as well. So on we go. I go into prisons, obviously not since COVID, it's still doing the rounds. But before that, I think with safeguarding, if you really are serious about it, then you have to understand who's creating the problem, who is creating the abuse. So it's really interesting from a forensic psychology point of view. It's very interesting. Why do people harm? And so I want to hear from the offenders. So I talk to sex offenders, I talk to child abusers, what their childhood was like and how are they acting and behaving online and offline. But they say, this is their words, we fish for children who take the bait. And abusers, they actually say parents are naive about grooming on and offline, making it easy to abuse children. Have I ever seen anyone remorseful? No, they are remorseful because they've been caught, but they're very, very happy to tell me what they've been up to. And I said to the children at Ampleforth today, I've never met anyone with no teeth in a dirty Mac. They've all been very, very well educated, articulate, white collar workers, the ones that I've met, and I've met several. So this is the honest truth. The moment you put something out there, it's there for the world to see forever. And this is a slide I've used for years, and it is true as much today as it was back then. It's not just www to my mate next door. It's out there. The most innocent message or photograph can be out there, and it goes around the internet. Now, I asked, the children when I did this training, did you read the apps and terms and conditions? Sorry, this is on a timer, but it seems to have, sorry, here we are. The apps and terms and conditions. You see, when you download Snapchat, Instagram, whatever it is you've downloaded, TikTok, any of it, Facebook particularly, Facebook has no security whatsoever. But when you take terms and conditions, yes, I have read and understood them. It actually says in the small print there that when you do this, they own your images. They own them, not you. They're under no obligation to let you have them back. And they can actually sell your data as well. And that's the real harshness of it. Behind every one of those messages that you send, even innocent ones, is metadata. Oh, this is driving me mad. Metadata about you, what the device is, what the serial number may be, what your location is. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind those images. Put your name into Google and see what you can see there. HR departments are now looking at people's social media accounts to see whether or not they actually want to employ them. And this came out this year. So 2/3 of 10-year-olds have got smartphones. So, 39% of 3- and 4-year-olds using mobile phones. And I mean by that, smartphones. It is essential that you monitor it, that you don't just let them have free reign. It's essential. It really is. They're very, very young. Really, the advice is 11-year-olds. We all know that's nonsense, but the advice is no one under 11 should even be on the internet, but we know that's not happening. So it really does need, it's a minefield to steer around if we don't monitor these children properly, and in open spaces. What goes on in their bedrooms when those devices are up in those private spaces is not good for a lot of people, a lot of the children. Someone is muted. Can you mute, please? Thank you. I can't see who it is. Thank you. Oh, right. Let's go on to the next one. Right. So let's talk about the online abuser. They rely on blurred boundaries. This comes out of their own mouths, and they smile when they say it. They've lost sight of who a friend or a stranger is. Ask your children how many friends, in quotes, they have online. I mean the friend requests that they just go click, click, click. Yes, you can be my friend. And what happens is, well, these abusers, it's a multi-billion-dollar business on online crime, multi-billion-dollar. And they will access these youngsters and get into their passwords, and they, can I be your friend, the friend request, and the youngsters think it's some sort of competition, and they just play yes, in you come. And once they're in to that child's social media life, they can watch them through webcams, and they're in that child's social life, and they may never even talk to the child, but they can see what's going on, which is a real problem. And the abusers are relying on that. So just out of interest, ask how many friend requests your children have got. It's not unusual to find a 7-year-old tell me they've got 300 friends. And I said, this is ridiculous. You know, your mum and dad, your granny, your auntie, your carer won't have met that many people coming around for fish fingers or whatever it is. You know, don't, keep it tight, keep it to the people you know, not random people. So how do they do it? This is what they do, grooming online. They use voice chat, accessing YouTube. Now, the live streaming is not the live streaming you have in schools that's got all the filters on. This is the live streaming that they have on, you know, at home. It's a very much a favored platform for abusers, because it can't be traced by the police, a bit like Skype. And what they're doing on live streaming is absolutely horrendous. Now, you might have heard while we were on this subject, this only came into my inbox literally before I came up here yesterday, a thing called Twitch. I don't know if you've heard of the live streaming platform called Twitch. Twitch had got several, in fact, quite a few videos of men masturbating, right? Now, those videos have been taken down, but the safeguarding alert I have had is serious, because it's now gone into TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram. So this is what happens. It's like a wildfire. And they're asking parents to be very, very careful what the children are seeing on those other apps. Multiplayer games, false profiles, social networking, offering game currency, and then offering games and equipment. Well, of course, that then means the child's going to give their address. Then they want to meet up with them, and then might even ask, and will ask, for actual images of the children. So online offenders, they have multiple chats. It's a scattergun approach. They maybe have 5 or 6 different chat rooms going at the same time. From the very off, the language is highly sexualized. Boom, straight in. And you wonder why perfectly intelligent, pleasant children want to engage in that sort of language, but they do. It's quite extraordinary. And I would say also, never ever meet someone offline who you've met online. I really worry for people that go on Tinder and these dating apps, because you could be meeting the axe murderer. You've got no way of knowing, have you? And you'll see what I mean about in a minute. Further on in the presentation, there is photographs of how people disguise themselves. So this is what they say quite proudly, you know, oh, well, we use a heavy disguise. They get quite excited when they talk about this, you know, but we buy voice distorters, you see. So we make our voices sound like the children we want to contact. So if we wanted a 12-year-old, we'll sound like a 12-year-old. And then we act and move, and we use the buzz phrases that those youngsters are using at this stage, you know, and then what's on trend, what sport do they like, what music, what books do they read, how do they wear their hair. So they do a lot of research so that when they go online, they are very, very credible and no one suspects a thing. So I'm going to show you this photo now. Okay, this is, hang on a minute, sorry. Oh, goodness me, sorry. Right, so this girl here, she's 15 and her name is Joanne, right? You can't see the writing because this was used for a court case. And here is Joanne, right? He is her. She is him. Now, this is Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's job was in the Child Protection Division of the Metropolitan Police. And his job was to set up stings to arrest and move in on abusers that were trying to contact children online to meet them for sex, okay? And it's very obvious that that's what their aim is. So he would get dressed up like this, professional makeup artist, there's his name down there, Jonathan Taylor. A professional makeup artist would come and put that, you know, like stuff like on sci-fi, you know, when you pull the face off and all of that. He had that. He had it all over his hands because men's hands are very different to girls. He had false boobs. He had a corset to keep his tummy in, beautiful wig, exquisite makeup. That would take 2.5 hours. And he was Joanne online, 2.5 hours to make Jonathan look like that. Now, the moment he went on, these are his slides, right? These are his slides. The moment he went online, he would be inundated with men with very sexualized language, making it very, very obvious what their intention was. He was getting one a second, a minimum of 60 men a minute contacting him. Now, in the last 2 months, it's now a law, thank goodness, that if the police can set up a sting situation where the chat is showing more and more sexualized comments, that clearly there's intent here, not just to groom the child, but now to move in for sexual activity. At that point now, the police will go out, arrange a meeting or set up by someone like Jonathan, and that person will be arrested and now charged. It's now, thank goodness, they can now be charged since about 2 months ago. The court in a sting will bring charges, and thankfully, because before a child is harmed, where there is clear intention shown that their aim is to have sex with maybe a 9-year-old, 8-year-old or whatever, 14-year-old, whatever their thing is. And there is Jonathan. He did the job for 2 years. That's really all you can do in this line of work. It's really awful. So staying safer. This is not safe, parents. If you're on Facebook, it's a Christmas present to offenders because it's not safe. They can get in and lift the photographs of your children off through your devices quite easily. If I were you, I would move across to Signal, WhatsApp or Wire. They are all encrypted, so it's got special locks that people can't really hack into. Somebody one day will, because that's the way of the world. But Facebook isn't safe, so I would urge you to go across to those encrypted apps. So please keep your webcams covered. When I was up at Ampleforth today, I was saying, you know, it's a story I know of a 12-year-old boy that was actually in the shower. Now, I've got an older laptop here in front of me, right? And he had an older laptop outside his shower. Now, I'm talking to you, and very clearly the webcam light is on. With the modern devices, your webcam is working all the time on your iPad, on your iPhone, on your smartphone. It never switches off unless you turn the whole thing off or unless it runs out of power. Whereas the older ones, like I'm sitting and working on here now, a light is very obviously on, as this boy had. And he thought, oh my goodness, he knew that somebody had hacked in. He went off and got a towel. When he came out, the light had gone off. His mother called, deeply distressed. That footage would have been sent into the dark web, which we'll talk about later, and it would have been sold. And the offenders tell me it's called fresh meat. That is the alert that goes out on the dark web that they have fresh meat video. And that tells the paedophile community that there's a new bit of video going around, and the bartering starts normally at $1,000, £1,000, and they will trade up and up and up to see what gets the highest amount. And so this is the other thing, how strangers, if you've let them in to be a friend, those friend requests, do ask your children. Weak passwords. These abusers, it's a bit, I said to the youngsters, it's a bit like Tesco. In this multi-billion-dollar industry, you've got people that buy the product, you've got people that make the product, you've got people that keep the accounts, you've got people that hack into passwords, you've got people who are procurers. They are the people that are looking for the faces and the arms and legs to airbrush into child abuse images. Now, these people, these abusers, that whole department, if you like, they don't even touch a child. They just facilitate the ability for another part of their paedophile community to get in and take whatever they want off someone's social media. It's 11 seconds. When I did it with the youngsters, I said, count to 11. So we did. And when you count 11 seconds, it's really a short space of time. That's all it takes for these people to get in. Now, longer is stronger. Your passwords, and I say this even to you as adults, not just the children, should be at least 12 characters. And it should be a jumbled mix of letters, numbers, symbols, jumbled up. On the dark web month, they can buy a book which tells them, the paedophile community that want to hack in, tells them the easiest passwords in the last month. At the moment, trending with them is Harry Potter. That's always popular. People using Harry Potter names, people that are using names from Encanto or Sing To. They make children their business. They know what children like and what children are into, and children innocently use names from their favorite films or whatever, music. But every month there's a book that these people can buy that makes it even easier. So 12 characters, and for every app, because if you have the same app and someone hacks in, they can see through your whole social media. But it's really difficult to hack into anything that's over 12 characters. There's plenty of people that don't use that protection. So I would urge you to do this, just ring fence it tighter, don't link the accounts. So ideally, and this is the police that tell, yes, you can go on WhatsApp at 13. The reason the police would rather it was 16 is because it's encrypted. Now, by all means, have your children on your WhatsApp account, the family account, where you're managing it, but not for them to have their own private one. And I know a lot of children do. And the reason the police are against it is because if they were contacted in a way that was inappropriate, the police cannot trace who it is because it's encrypted. They can't undo the encryption. So, they're stymied really. So they would rather children were better protected and not have a private account until they're 16, but by all means use a family one. Under 18, they shouldn't have a private YouTube channel. There is no protection on it, and it's just rife with adults. It's an adult platform, By all means, go on YouTube. YouTube's great, but having their own private channel that's got no monitoring and no protection whatsoever is dangerous. So, and that's the advice with that one, 18. Online images and the issues, right? So here we have these procurers. This is this other department that I was talking about. They will be asked like, right, we want 12 ginger-haired boys, age 10. We want 12-year-old black girls, please, or we want some 11-year-old boys that are Asian, and they specifically say what they want. And the job of these procurers is to go through child-centric websites, school websites, judo, swimming, ballet, gymnastics. Facebook is a gift because you can cruise through there and help yourself. And their job, that is what they do. That is their job. And they will go around, right, so-and-so wants, right, now, ginger children, so they look through for ginger children, and then they look for arms and legs and body torsos, and they send that mix right across to the people that are making these still images. It's category C images that they can create. So it's a bit like a girly magazine, but for children, that are being created in still photos, created in child abuse settings and abusive settings. And these people don't even touch a child, but they're part of that paedophile community, and they earn hundreds and thousands of pounds and dollars for doing it. And of course, by using Facebook, you make it very easy for them. Come on, move. Right, so sharenting, this is a new problem. Creating a digital footprint for your child by sharing information, right? It's called sharenting, and parents obviously very proud of your children, even when they're in the womb. Ooh, look at my baby, sending pictures around, and you're already setting up a digital dossier, and it's called sharenting. It's becoming a bit of a problem. You're not doing it intentionally, but your children's image is out there, and your children have no control over it. Now, I know in France, I don't know whether it went through in France, but there was going to be a law that against parents doing this, and children could sue their parents for putting their images out when the children had no control over it. Now, someone, can you mute, please? Thank you. I can't see who it is. And so it's, you know, it's a problem. It's a problem. So this is what happened. This 1 month at the bottom there, the Internet Watch Foundation, they're based in Cambridge, brilliant organization. The 1 month that is at the bottom here was October 2020, after 6 months of lockdown. And they thought, well, let's have a look and see how bad it is. And they used that month contacting 79 companies to see about the accessing of abuse images in the UK. 3 came back and found over 8.8 million attempts. That is horrific. Now, we now know that there are 800,000 people every hour and minute of every day, not the same 800,000 people every second of every day that are an absolute threat to children. That's a big number. And it's not the same people, it's that number that are posing a threat, which isn't difficult to work out when you look at 8.8 million, and that is just in what, 31 days, October? Problem. So February, from the Internet Watch Foundation, disturbing rise in online child sex offenders, children being, coercing children over their webcams and getting their children to abuse their siblings and getting them to film their own abuse. This is why I urge you to get these devices out their bedrooms. You wouldn't be doing it in the living room. Now, Ofsted have come out with this report. That was in February this year. Some girls are being contacted by 11 boys a night asking for nude images. Now, I was in a school back in February where 3 14-year-old boys were being arrested and taken away by the police. And what they had been doing was coercing girls in their year 9 to take these selfies at night, and then they were threatening them that they would harm them on the way to school if they didn't do it. Now, one of the girls, thank goodness, spoke out, and the police rocked up and took these guys away. And I was there doing some work, and one of the boys was out giving it. Oh,
describing she was doing some work in February.
Can somebody mute, please? Thank you. These boys, one of the boys was shouting, well, I didn't think she'd tell anyone. Well, people do, thank goodness. The days of staying silent, thank goodness, have gone. Those 4 lads are in a young offenders institute. They will be there for 2 years. They are going to come out with sexual offending on their DBS, their criminal record, and that is going to haunt them for the rest of their life because they won't be getting a visa. I was saying when I was at Ampleforth today to the youngsters, if you have anything to do with sexting, you know, sending naked images or sexualized images of yourself, even in underwear, if you do anything like that on live streaming, if known to carry a knife or anything like that, just standing in the wrong place at the wrong time, and we'll talk about joint enterprise later, then, you know, if you've got grievous bodily harm, carrying a dangerous weapon, sexualized offense, you're not going to get a visa anywhere. You're not going to go to Canada, America, New Zealand, Dubai. You won't be going anywhere. You'll be having a life, even when you're 50, living within the shores of the UK. Live streaming, let's have a look. So yes, it is called Fresh Meat, and the financial value is massive. It can't be traced, and the films go around and round and round the dark web. 96% IWF, Internet Watch Foundation, 96% of the images they found were in the home setting on webcams in their bedrooms. 98% 8 to 13 years of age, 96% girls as young as 6. For online abuse, of course, boys are abused, and of course, boys' images are wanted, but it is really predominantly girls, the fascination for girls. But the girls are taking part in all of this, knowing they're doing it, talking to random strangers. The number of phone calls I got from perfectly pleasant families during lockdown of what their children are doing at 1 o'clock in the morning when they went into their bedrooms, extraordinary. Please get these things out of their bedroom. And this is what they said last year, Internet Watch Foundation. It is, and it's a growing perfect storm of online abuse. Greater demand for abusive content, increased time online, rise in the use of live streaming. You can't be found by the police on live streaming like Skype. And now age 3 to 16 encouraged to copy adult pornography. All this happens over the webcam, over live streaming, and these youngsters are engaging in that conversation. It is real worry. So I'm going to ask you, would you invite a sex offender into your house? Ding dong on the door. Hello, I'm a child abuser. I'd quite like to go up and talk to your daughter, please, in her bedroom, if that's all right. Well, of course, you're going to slam the door and call the police. But by leaving these children with their devices in their bedroom, that is what is happening virtually. No decent person is contacting children who your children have never met randomly on a webcam to live stream, and children doing sexual acts, and I am not kidding you, in front of their webcam. Get it out the bedrooms, please. They won't be doing it in their living room and out the bathrooms, and help them stay safer. The dark web, right, so here's the surface web up in the light blue. That's where we operate with Twitter and all that stuff. In the deep web, no one really talks about that. That's where all your medical records are kept, all your academic information, your degrees, legal documents, the military put stuff down there. Down in the dark web, very, very sinister, 500 times larger than the rest of the web. TOR, down here in the bottom right-hand corner, the server that is used is called the onion router. That's its nickname. And the onion router is because of the number of layers and layers, and I'm going to show you in a minute. This is where the indecent images of children are stored by paedophiles and sold. They have different forums down in the dark web, depending on what their particular choice is, whether they want 5-year-olds or 10-year-olds. And there's all these different forums in the dark web. Political protests, radicalization, drug trafficking, you know, millions and millions of pounds of cocaine that needs to be sold can never be traced because it's on a virtual bank account. And the police can't get into the dark web anyway, because the encryption is so powerfully strong. Locks and passwords and multi-locks and multi-passwords, they can't get in. Illegal information, the sale of weapons, illegal weaponry, it's horrible. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like. Here is a very tiny section of the internet. In this little box here is somebody putting a perfectly innocent photograph out, right? Look where it goes, everywhere. This is like a thin piece of cheese. It's such a tiny piece of the internet. But look at the ladies. It's like one of those spirograph things that we used to have when we were children. But this orangey peachy bit here, this is all the surface and the deep web, but all around to the right hand side here, this purple and blue, this is all part of the deep web. And these here that look like planet Saturn, they are the encrypted sites. So if I manage to get some footage of a child that this is very good, you know, it's fresh meat, I, as a criminal, will know how to get in there. So I plop it into one of these. The announcement goes out around the different forums of paedophilia that there is this fresh meat and who wants to come along and have a look and to buy it. And then it carries on and round and round and round and round it goes. So the thing is, you see, children that are abused online, it causes huge anxiety because those images are out there forever. And you never know when it might come back and bite you in 10 or 15 years' time, when someone has found it and someone has tracked you, and it's called doxing, and suddenly you are being blackmailed. Oh, what would your chairman think if I sent this that I found of you when you were 14? Yeah. And it's that permanent worry. So no point people thinking, oh, online, it doesn't matter. The implications on the child's well-being is no different to having offline, hands-on sexual abuse. The anxiety, the depression, all that stuff is the same. It's the same. So that's what I've just said. It's 500 times larger. The police can't get in there. Third of the images, this is interesting, isn't it, has been created by children themselves, sending sexting images to their next door, their friend, or at school. They think it's a joke. It doesn't have to be nude. It can be, maybe a girl has got some very pretty underwear. It's, in fact, it's sexualized. So if you've got your daughter in very beautiful underwear or a very skimpy bikini climbing up a door frame or spread eagled over a duvet, that is sexualized. It is illegal. But asserts that's 33% of the content in the dark web has been created by children of this generation. So many offenders have gone from the surface web down to the dark web during COVID. Its numbers went up by 100%. Europol 2020, these numbers came out, and it's increasing all the time. CSAM, child sex abuse material files, okay? But it's a nightmare. Europol have some very worrying stuff that tells you the reality of what's going on. Self-generated images, these are the sexting that has gone on. They share it with one of their friends. They don't stop and realize that it carries on around social media, and it eventually ends up on a child sex abuse material platform. In the end, it eventually will end up in the wrong hands. Sometimes it will, often it does. And these encrypted messages allow the offenders to form those communities. So again, messages from Europol. Whoops. And this comes from Europol as well. So, sorry, there we go. These are two men talking about what they found. Is nobody seeing the bright side of COVID? More live streaming, moderators not working. I've just 3 hours of live streams gone unbanned. Girls doing what they like. What a time to be alive. Do you see any remorse there? No. COVID has given more time to allocate to my wonderful hobby. I don't get much privacy. Thus, I cannot pleasure myself to this godly content except late at night. I would suggest that this last one here is probably a man of early 70s. If you look at the sentence structure and you look at the words, who do you know that thus I cannot pleasure myself to? I would say this is a very educated guy. I would say early 70s. You can pretty much say, but I've got loads of these. Just thought I'd share with two of them with you, so you can actually see the mindset of these people. So the law, criminal age of responsibility, 10 years old. This new law I was saying about, it was from May. Oh gosh, time's gone quick. I thought it was a couple of months ago. In May this year, then judges have now got the powers to give longer sentences if perpetrators are caught in a sting where there is clear sexual contact intended, and even if no child has been harmed. What a joy! Absolutely, that's a brilliant law. So a conviction will stay on a child against their life and negatively, negatively impacting employment, colleges, anything like that. Joint enterprise, really important you understand this. It's about the wrong child with the wrong child, wrong friends, wrong place, and something bad happens. So say it was shoplifting. So say I'm going out now with Mrs. Green into York on Saturday, and I decide that I've got no money for Christmas, so I'm just going to nick a few bottles of Chanel perfume and some aftershave, and I get to the door of the shop, tapped up on my shoulder. I'm arrested for shoplifting, but so's Mrs. Grant rather, so's Mrs. Grant, because she was just with me. She didn't go and get help. She must have seen what I was doing. So the implication is, well, you were just standing there and you didn't stop it. So that's, and that will haunt her, because that will be on her DBS forever. When I was deputy head, this is, well, several years ago now, when it was called DBS, when it was called CRB, Criminal Record Bureau, as opposed to DBS. And we interviewed a lady who was then in her 50s, and she wants to be on dinner patrol, the playground person. And we couldn't take her because on her criminal record, it came up that she had done shoplifting when she was 15. We couldn't employ her. So it has significant impact. Now, there's a much more worse story than this. There were 4, but it's a true story. You can look it up. It was Letchworth and Hertfordshire at the tail end of 2018, summer term. There were 4 lads last week of the holidays walking through the precinct. One of their friends got out a knife, great big knife. You're not, by the way, allowed. It's against the law to carry anything, even a pen knife. I can't carry it. You can't carry it. It's against the law. You cannot carry a dangerous weapon. This is going on, and the knife comes out. The boys are like, oh my goodness, what's going on? The boy with the knife stabs one of their friends. That boy ends up going into intensive care. He lived, but he was in intensive care for 3 weeks. He's got life-changing injuries. But that night, all 4 boys were arrested and charged the next day with carrying an offensive weapon and grievous bodily harm. Now, the 3 who didn't do anything, they were just there, were like, well, what's it got to do with me? But as the police say, how do we know you didn't buy the knife? You didn't do anything to help that boy. You didn't run and get help. You didn't call 999 on your phone. You just stood there. Hello, joint enterprise. It is a very lively law. Now, those boys are still, they went down for 5 years, so they won't come out until 2023. The tail end of 2023, that they'll only be coming out there. And then what are they going to be? They're going to be, they were 14, so they're going to be 19, and they've got that on their records. You know, what can I say? Joint enterprise, very lively law. Very lively law. Do tell your older children. Here's the thing about sexting, sexualized images, can't do it. If you are reported to the police, as you say, it's sexualized offence. Now, if your children, I said to the youngsters, this is something new that's come out as well. If the children think, oh, heck, I actually have sent an image of myself, I have shown myself naked or whatever, they can go on the internet. You can actually copyright all. You can copyright all your pictures if you wanted to. And Mrs. Grant has got a card of showing you how you can do it. But you can go on the Internet Watch Foundation, IWF, and they have a section there called Report Remove. And you click on that and you tell them what you think you've done, what platform it is on, and they will try and take it down. But the fact you actually downloaded you know, the app in the first place and tick the terms and conditions, then they are under no obligation to do it. But the Internet Watch Foundation will try very hard to do so, and that's all. And not guaranteed, but it's you know, a system. It's better than not having it. Online games and apps. Right now, this is the thing called Twitch I was telling you about. Explicit sexualized content on this live streaming platform, frequently used by children and young people. Additional posts and articles have gone out on, and it's just like found its way into Reddit, Twitter, TikTok, and also Snapchat. And these have come from the original broadcast. So that is a new alert that only came out just before I left yesterday, 2 days ago, to come up here. Oops. Right. Now let's talk about algorithms. You will have heard this expression, I'm sure. And I'm sure some of you were well aware of the Molly Russell tragic case of that young girl whose father won, and well done him. But there's no way that Molly would have found 2,000 videos of self-harming and suicide. What happens is, and this is what bugs me about the technology companies, they could so easily, with all the skills they've got, they could change what their algorithms do. Now, so I can give you a classic example of how it works. When it was the Queen's funeral, I maybe 2 or 3 times that day, I was like, looking at, oh, where's the cortege going? Where's it going next? And what's going to happen when she gets there? And for 6 weeks, I was inundated. I felt like I was part of the royal family. I virtually knew what Princess Anne knickers were. You know, it was what she had for breakfast, what so-and-so likes, what Princess of Wales eats for tea, and who was wearing diamonds, who was wearing pearls. It went on for 6 weeks before that algorithm throttled back, because then I showed no interest in it. So after just a few clicks, oh, you're interested, and it just literally overwhelms kids with stuff, and then they go down that rabbit hole And it's really difficult to get out because it's the algorithms that keep feeding them. So say they were to go on a self-harming site and they've gone on it 2 or 3 times just to see, they will then be overwhelmed with self-harming content because the algorithms have done it. And the tech companies could definitely do something about this. Reddit, dreadful app. It does brand itself as the front page of the internet, but it's selling nudes there, nude images. It's absolutely awful. Reddit is a terrible platform. Incel, you might have heard of this. Involuntary celibacy, yeah? Many of the communities are on Reddit, heavily criticized in the media and by researchers, where there's violent, misogynistic content, a deep hatred and violence towards women. And I was up at Ample Force today saying women are just normal human beings, you know, but the government now is now looking at it as extremism. And incel is getting about 1,000 lads a day, and young boys, 1,000 people a day joining the incel apps and, you know, Reddit, and it's not good. It really is not good. And I was saying today to the lads, if you feel you've got low esteem, if you feel not confident about yourself, if you feel, oh, I'm not very interesting, if you feel, well, I'm not very attractive, don't blame anyone else. Get some help. Don't start feeling sorry for yourself and join an incel group and start blaming your mother or your sister. If that's how you feel, because a lot of young teenagers, I remember being a teenager and feeling very insecure about myself, get some help. Don't join these terrible, terrible apps that are taking you, as I say, down that rabbit hole. TikTok, oh, how I loathe TikTok. Blackout challenge. Archie Battersby, you know, that boy that went on all through the summit, the coroner has said there was no evidence that he actually did. The blackout challenge, where what it is been going around for years, where it's you try to literally asphyxiate yourself and see how long you can keep it going before you black out. The eye color change challenge that came in about 3 months ago. This is it was a challenge they just put out there. This is where boys and girls thought they could change their eye color, they were told on TikTok, by putting dishwasher liquid or Domestos in a bag and like putting it on their eyes. Oh, hey, here's the thing. They ended up getting burnt and some children ended up going blind. And of course it doesn't work. You know, they were told that, you know, see if you can change your eye color. How they get away with selling sweets stuffed with cannabis, or, you know, if you and I were to sell it on the net, I'm sure we'd be taken down by the police. Pepper spray is completely illegal. Only the police can carry pepper spray. So yes, you can buy it on TikTok, but it is illegal. Some people might think, well, I'll buy that rather than carry a knife. Pepper spray is just absolutely dreadful. If you, I do a lot of ride outs with the police, and if they use it, if they have to use it, maybe they don't have a buddy with them or something, and they've got to arrest somebody, and that person, they can't put the handcuffs on them, and that person's being difficult, they would try to immobilize them by using pepper spray, because truly it stings, it makes your eyes burn, your nose burn, your throat feels like it's burning. It doesn't burn, it just feels like it is. And snot pouring out of you, out of your eyes. You just, no amount of water that you drink or splash on, and you're like that for 45 minutes. It is illegal, even though you can buy it on TikTok. Laughing gas, this is an absolute nightmare and is becoming a problem. I don't know if you've heard of the laughing gas. I'm going to show you something in a minute. And the amount of self-harming and eating disorders that come up from people worrying about their body image, and the selling of vapes. Now, you might think that's just nothing wrong with it. It's just a bit of vapor, but it's not. It's far worse than that. Laughing gas, yes, it is used in hospitals, in operations, under controlled conditions. But for £5 that they can buy, you can get it in the streets. You get idiots that are selling it to kids for a 20-second high. You can become paralyzed because it attacks your spinal cord and your nerves, and then it can cause death. Now, in the summer, there was a girl who was, she went to a party. She'd never taken drugs at all in her life. She took some of this laughing gas. She collapsed at the party. She was dead on arrival in hospital. She was 2 days off her 17th birthday. And there was, I just happened to have the TV on one night about 6 weeks ago. And there was a girl on the one show, and she was in a wheelchair. And she went on because she wanted to say to young people, she was paralyzed from the neck down because she had taken one of these laughing gas things. I'm going to show you what they are, and that's permanent. There's no way back. It's not a case of, oh, once it's worked out your system, you'll be okay again. No. Right, and there it is. That's what it looks like. You'll know what they look like now. You'll see them lying in gutters. Definitely, if you do festivals, you'll see them. You see them in the parks. Really, really dangerous. Vapes, right, okay, they do contain nicotine. You probably know that anyway. I think most of us have known that for some time. But what people don't know is it does contain some very fine particles of, down here, nickel, tin, and lead. Now, there's a condition called diacetyl, and its nickname's a popcorn lung, right? Because these bits, tiny, tiny little particles, actually cause scarring in the lungs and obstruction in the lungs. That sits in their lungs, and it's cancer-causing chemicals, yeah? So I said today to the youngsters up at Ampleforth, has anybody known anyone with emphysema, someone that smoked so much that they can't breathe properly, they have to have a mask and oxygen all the time, you know? And I also said to them today, and I said to the children, I mean, we didn't know, this is a new slide, when I trained your children, but I said, you know, you've all been born healthy, you weren't born disabled. Why on earth do you want to destroy yourselves with these various things like laughing gas and vapes? It's excuse me, it's so dangerous. Ask FM what these abusers are doing. They're trying to get people, they're trying to get people off Facebook, off Instagram, off TikTok, because they're not encrypted. Heavily, they're very, very, very much infiltrated. Ask FM, Kick, and Uvu. Very, very, very many perpetrators are on it. And because those three apps are encrypted, if they can get the children to move across to those, then they really are quite safe from being found by the police. Instagram, March last year, added live rooms, which means you actually are talking to random strangers, to a live audience and using your camera. I mean, I don't understand what these people, why make it any more dangerous than it already is. Omegle, really risky. It's gone from risk to, sorry, this is on a timer and the timer isn't working. Excuse me. It's gone from risky to high risk. The number of strangers that are, and dangerous strangers that are on Omegle, another one to be avoided. If you're on Snapchat or your children are on Snapchat, do make sure that the ghost mode is switched on all the time, because otherwise they can be geolocated. I'm amazed the number of children that don't have ghost mode switched on. It's a little ghost. All they have to do is click it on. And now they've brought out a new feature July this year called Meetup, trying to encourage youngsters to meet up with a random stranger, which we are trying to get them not to do. So I don't understand Mark Zuckerberg at all. Pinch interest, like this is with Molly Russell. You know, it's set up as just a pinboard of interest, cooking, fashion, and all that. But with Molly Russell, who had viewed these 2,000 images of self-harm and suicide, yeah. Meta, I don't know if you followed the case, I did. Meta came into the court, they were subpoenaed to be in court, and they thought it was supportive, showing these images of self-harm and suicide. Unbelievable. But Pinterest is another dodgy one. It shouldn't be. It started off as being something quite, you know, and it still is, it still is quite innocent in some ways, but obviously there's this other side to it. Depends what you're putting in and showing an interest, because the algorithms will then kick in. So your screen time, is it under control? Does it interfere with what your family want to do? There's a word in the English language called no. You know, turn it off. This is from the Royal College of Pediatrics. Switch it off an hour before bedtime, because what happens is the dopamine, or the happy stuff, it makes it very difficult for them to go to sleep. So they can watch TV. It's not the same thing. Watch TV, listen to music, read, go and play football. But if they're doing this and then trying to go to bed, the brain will be fizzing. They won't be able to sleep so much. And controlling the snacking that goes on as well. You know, I absolutely urge all of you parents to put parental locks on. Please. Safe Families is a very good one. Instagram, has actually brought something out where you can actually plan things. But do plan the time. It's free to download. Plan your time, how long you're going to let your children do it, put in the filters, put in the apps that you want to block, manage the content. And that, yes, sometimes the children are hell-bent on trying to get around the corners and edges of it, but you know, it's better than having nothing. Safe Families is a good one to have. Here we go, Instagram, June this year. There's an option of setting daily time limits, 15 minutes, 2 hours, schedule break times. You can actually see on that as well, though, which app your children have blocked and which friends they've blocked. You can also see their children's friends list, right, which is going to be an interesting thing. So I think they've done quite a good job on this, actually, Instagram. So if your children are on Instagram, I suspect they are, do take a look at the parental controls on it, June this year. So I would advise that before your children, Christmas is coming, Dad, Mum, can I have this game? Can I have this app? You know, I would check the recommended age. I would put the name of the app or the game in and see what its safeguarding risks are. Mrs. Grant has got a lot of what they're called safety cards of different apps and how to be safer on it. She's got a lot of information I've given her. This is from a lady that was on our conference yesterday. Look at this. We called it The Game Is Up, and we were looking at gaming. Look at this. 173 million youngsters under age of 18 are gaming globally and daily. That's amazing. And twice as many boys than girls. Extraordinary. Now, what happens with these games? A lot of them have hypersexuality in it, and that then becomes normalized and it becomes into pornography. I was horrified at a conference yesterday when Dr. Mansi, or Sanchez rather, said how heavily pornography is in Minecraft, and also Minecraft Online, and also Fortnite. Thousands and thousands of pornographic videos are on it, because they use the same sort of server. Come on, move, work. So Discord, right? So that streams into a YouTube channel. Oh, and it's a gateway. OnlyFans is dreadful. It is an absolute pornographic site. I'm helping 3 13-year-old girls at the moment who at a school are selling their nude images to OnlyFans. That's what OnlyFans is about. It is absolutely like a pimping site, quite honestly. It's disgusting. But the Pornhub uses the Discord server, so it gets to all these other places. There's just hundreds and thousands of free porn that is going into these different apps and acting as a pimping site. Discord is dreadful, and it's on this list here. Discord is dreadful. Roblox, if your children are on it, only play with their friends. Grand Theft Auto, nightmare. Metaverse, Minecraft, Fortnite, awful. Among Us is another dangerous one. Oh, these are the ones that come out as high risk from the police, yeah? Poppy Playtime, you might have heard of that. It looks quite innocent, with a little fluffy blue dog. It's actually a horror. It's full of literal terror and horror. And it's causing children severe nightmares, and children of 5 years old have got this. Pornography, we do need to have a little word about this. 7-year-olds are looking at it, and it is hard porn. Gone are the days when it was a magazine and, you know, just looking at a few boobs and bits and bobs. Now it is hardcore porn. It's really from the off. Now, I look at this bottom one here. This came from our conference yesterday from Dr. Sanchez, that porn sites get more visitors each month than Amazon, Twitter, and Netflix combined. And I thought that was staggering. But 90% of the most viewed porn are violent, absolutely violent. And I think I've got a list of what's going on. Now, how do the children get to it? Well, of course, it comes through on Minecraft, it comes through on Fortnite, because all these free things are going around. But if they go into Snapchat Premium and they search sensitive material, it will take them to porn sites. If they put an emoji in of tears, crying tears, and an aubergine, that means ejaculating penis, and that will guide them into the porn videos. And we are talking of children as young as 7 doing this. I would urge you to watch this. This is a neuroscience, but behind watching, it's a 30-minute thing. All the neuroscience came out October last year. It's called Raised on Porn. I would urge you to watch it. You don't see any porn, but it's really interesting when you hear the scientists talking gonzo porn, very, very hardcore, but it's very interesting. So what I'm telling you is all on this. So there is an impact. The dopamine spikes. Dopamine is your pleasure drug. Children's brains are developing up to the age of 25, and anything dodgy, dopamine, wonderful, it's a high, but it's extremely impacting on the developing brain. And it's very, very addictive because it's your pleasure drug. Yeah. And over time, if they are watching it and they're watching too much of it, over time, as they grow older, it can burn out the dopamine receptor. In the same way, if you've got a pain receptor and you just live off Panadol, it's not going to work anymore. It powerfully builds a permanent negative sexual script. It is, we now know, proven, all the harmful sexual behavior, child on child sexual abuse that's going on. We now know it is stemmed from watching pornography. Creates a dissatisfied sexual intimacy, erectile dysfunction. We are getting men as young as 30 phoning us because it's not working. Now, if it's not working because it's not working for medical reasons, you can be helped. But if it's not working because somebody has dosed out too much on pornography, then there's no comeback from that because it's permanent. You can't replace your receptor. And it does reduce the size of the brain permanently. As I say, under 25, your brain is developing, and it's very, very susceptible to negative events, to substances and stuff like that. Very brief overview, and we've nearly finished, of Canty-Lyne's drugs, CCE, child criminal exploitation. These exploiters are looking for clean skins, no more cleaner than your children here. Innocent, cared for, looked after, not streetwise, highly vulnerable. Children of 15 and 17 are the ones that are hopping and off of the trains, but the year groups, now you might have seen it on Sky News, it's dropping lower because they're not stupid. The criminal age of responsibility is 10. So now we've got 9-year-olds and 8-year-olds trading drugs. If you've seen, and I'm not stereotyping people, it is a uniform. If you've seen some 11-year-olds on BMX bikes with no lights on and aimlessly hanging around a street corner with the hoodies and the sweatpants and a little nylon bag on the back, those are hooks. They are trying to hook in other young people. So they go and talk to them and chat to them. And the next thing they know, they're being given drugs. They're given it to start with, and then they have to pay for it. Children as young as 9, there you are. This was, sorry, ITV, and it was also on Sky News as well. It was everywhere. Children as young as 9, girls, because no one thinks girls can do this sort of stuff. 30% of gangs are girls. 8-year-olds are now being asked to carry knives. So the hoodies on street corners, you'll see them in leisure parks, where there's McDonald's and all those, you know, Hollywood Bowl, that sort of thing, derelict buildings. You'll now notice them. You'll see them outside one-stop shops. You may have seen them already. That's what they're doing. They're waiting to maybe give a kid a $5, and the next thing they know, they're doing a drug run. This is a police slide. Please be careful and warn your children about these They're using ordinary sweets. So these are like gummy bears, Stone Patch, but they're doing it with wine gums, all sorts of things. And they're loading cannabis and class A drugs into them. And these hooks, this is a police slide, a massive problem, just offering a child, do you want a sweet? I mean, the rules are the same as when we were young. Don't take sweets from strangers, right? Even if they're the same age as you. School gates, expensive cars, blacked out windows, you'll see them hanging around in the wrong places, near railways, and the child sexual abuse, sexual exploitation. When they get to these houses, the people that attack them are 3 times older than them, but hanging around, you'll see them. It could be a boyfriend or a friend in school, could be meet someone on Snapchat, young men offering chicken dinners, you know, the chicken shops, older men at one-stop shops, young hooks. They are around big time. Don't just think it doesn't happen here. It's all over the country, even down in Cornwall, in little villages. Please make sure when your children go out that their phone is charged. Very easy to forget. Please ask them. You're in charge, not them. Where are they going? Who are they going with? And you give them the time they're back. So have a code word, maybe call it pizza. So if they text you pizza, you know they're having a tough time. But if you don't know who they're with and where they're going, you're pretty stymied, really, aren't you? So if I would, especially if you saw something like dodgy behavior that you think could be drugs being exchanged, you'll see it around York and all around there. I would, rather than the police, because this is anonymous, 0800 555 111, call it in. Your name is not given to the police. Crime Stoppers are not the police. They are a charity. We are affiliated with them, but they're very, very good. And they will say what you've called in. It can be for anything, sex abuse, domestic abuse, anything. And Crime Stoppers are absolutely excellent. They work with the police, but they're not the police. If your children have been harmed online, Marie Collins Foundation, they look after you as the parents and the family, as well as the child that's actually been impacted. And please bear in mind, it is not the child's fault. At the end of the day, the perpetrator is the problem, exploiting the innocent. It's never the child's fault. And there are my details. So I don't know if anybody wants any questions or whether Mrs. Grant can see any questions coming in. I can't see anybody, so I'm going to actually hand you back to Mrs. Grant. And that's going round there. There we go. She's in charge now.
Thank you very much. What a lot of information that we've all taken in. Marilyn, many thanks. Very interesting and informative presentation. Every time I hear Marilyn, and I've heard her a few times now, I learn something new. And as we said earlier, there's new things coming in all the time. I will send out the safety cards to parents, either in the trumpet or via email next week. But if there are any questions, please shout. I know there's quite a few of you on there. If anyone's got any questions, if you want to put it in the chat, that's absolutely fine. Or if you want to unmute yourselves and ask a question, or if you think of something after the event, email. You've all got my email. Please don't hesitate to email. Otherwise, I will let you have your Friday nights back.
And I thank every one of you for giving up your Friday night. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful Christmas. It's not far off, is it? So thank you so much. I really appreciate, because now you will be confident to sit down with your children, because they know a lot of this stuff, so you can have that conversation. Thank you so much. Good night. Have a great weekend.
Night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Night, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.